A person that is awakened sees too much. Okay, you know too much. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot unsee what you see. It's overwhelming. And then you now realize you've been battling spiritual warfare, especially as a chosen one. That has pretty much been most of your routine. Is the cycle. A person that is not awakened, life could look like it's easier. Okay, they don't ask questions. They just go about their day. They date whoever they want to date. They go take a beer in the club. Maybe have a dance on the weekend. Go to work. Do this and do that. Nothing pretty much happening. So the enemy is not interested in unawakened people. Okay, they're asleep. So there's nothing to ask. There's nothing to see. Nothing to ask. They don't know nothing. But when you awaken, you become kind of a threat. It is like the enemy feels they can no longer function around you. Because when you go through this awakening, you have a reset. Everything reboots. I did a video many years ago. I called it the reboot. You reboot everything. You reboot your entire timeline. You jump onto a different timeline. This happens, like again, I've said, very slowly. But you get there at some point. You eventually get there. I awakened at 40. I've shared my story with you guys. I awakened when I found out that I'd been dealing with a narcissist. That is what triggered my awakening, and it wasn't a very pleasurable experience, I could say. It was a very horrible moment at the time. But I'm still grateful because it came to that where I could be able to finally see what was going on behind the scenes. So I could break free, okay, and start designing my life according to how I wanted it to be. Because whatever had been happening previously, it wasn't serving me, so I had to unplug from everything. So it wasn't pleasurable. And then about 6 months, maybe it was 5 or I don't know, remember 5 months or something, I further awakened to a narcissistic family matrix. And again, that was also not a favorable moment. It was horrible. But I came to terms with it. I saw it for what it was. I struggled with it a little bit, but eventually I was like, okay, so it is what it is. The family is dysfunctional. I cannot continue participating in that chaos and all those things that used to happen. I had to see reality for what it was, unplug myself, go my own way, do my own thing. Like I've said, a person who is not awakened, you're just a regular person. You just do things, go here, go there. But the person that is awakened, it's a different story. You unplug from everything. Okay, the reality that you always knew, you're starting to uncover everything you've ever been told or taught. You're starting to understand that whatever you thought was your reality, it was a script. It no longer makes sense, and you want something better. Now, I've always told you chosen ones that you've always been going through spiritual awakenings, spiritual warfare. You have always been going through spiritual warfare most part of your life. But the warfare has been happening silently, secretly. You see, the enemy attacks in silence. So you've been with this narcissistic individual. Maybe you had a parent that was involved in some groups of covens or witchcraft or societies or stuff like that. And there is stuff that they have been doing behind the scenes. They have been manipulating your energy. They have been abused behind the scenes, okay, spiritually, financially, emotionally, whatever, different types of abuse. It has been happening, but it has been in a way that you couldn't understand. Because you see, the whole idea of everything was for you not to know what was going on. You wasn't meant to see it. You wasn't meant to know it. You was not meant to awaken. Because you see, the moment you awaken is game over. for them. If it's a job, you leave the job. You've been experiencing abuse at your workplace, you leave the job. Relationship, the same thing. Could be a church, the same thing. You walk out of the church, whatever, friendships and so on and so forth. Now, like I've said, at that point of awakening, the enemy goes in panic. Okay, I've personally seen narcissistic people that I've dealt with for some time go into panic in real time. And when they go into panic, they are very desperate to find a way they can contain that damage, even if it means eliminating you, okay, and getting you out of the way. They can try to do that as long as it doesn't get back to them, because they are trying to see what can they do to make sure that your message, because they understand that you've got a message and they don't want that message to go out there. So they try to contain, or I could say, to find something they can do to contain the damage, because they understand that it's game over. Now, what normally happens for a person that is awakened, and what kind of spiritual warfare are you really going to face? It's not a smooth journey, ladies and gentlemen. People talk about this thing of spiritual awakening, and sometimes some people may not tell you the truth, or you can even think it's peaches and cream. But the truth is, it's a journey altogether, okay? It's a very intensive journey, okay? It is not easy to wake up one day and you realize that your whole reality is shattered. Whatever you knew, family you knew, church you knew, the job you knew, the relationship you knew, the friend you knew, it was just all illusion. So what the enemy does now, the enemy goes full force. In one of the videos I've done many years ago, I said the spiritual awakening intensifies spiritual warfare intensifies post-awakening. It is not because it didn't exist. It was there, but you couldn't see it. You couldn't understand it. Personally, if I can just take you back a little bit, when I was a kid, I had a parent that was involved in witchcraft. So I remember some few times that was dragged along to go to these witch guys, and I don't know what they was doing over there. I couldn't understand anything. You know, when you're young, you don't ask questions. And now I awakened and I realized that it was all warfare against my soul. Now, one of the things the enemies will throw at you when you're awakened is going to be rejection. They're going to reject you. Yes, the truth is your family will reject you. You might have been a person who used to apply for jobs here and there. They will take you. This time you put the applications, they're not listening. They'll throw away your resumes. Your friends are going to reject you. You are going to be rejected. The system will push all this rejection towards you. That's because they want you to crumble. They want you to fold and crumble. Anything they can do to weaken your spirit so that you can crumble and go back to sleep, go back and coil back in that little zone where they always want you to be. So that's why they will usually throw, the system will throw, your enemies will throw that rejection. Some people want to say the matrix. It will throw a lot of rejection your way, okay? So when you're going through rejection, understand that this is one of the things that will happen. It is not something you can control. What you can control is how you react, okay? If you keep on trying to push something, you're being rejected, but you keep on trying to run after it, push it, leave it, let it go. You're rejected because you deserve better. If an offer fails, you're rejected for an offer, a better one will come soon at some point. Sometimes you're even trying to force things that are not in alignment with where it is you want to go. Okay, so as a person that is awakened, you have to understand you will usually experience rejection. Now, my videos, I hit very difficult points. I know it is not things that you may want to hear, because some people may, oh, why are you saying this? Oh, it's not possible. This. Sometimes I see people fighting with me in the comment section, and you want me to come and tell you things that you want to hear. I only say the things you need to hear. Okay? They may trigger you a little bit, but it is through the triggers that your healing will be activated. Rejection is going to be one of them. There's also something will happen, another form of spiritual warfare that will happen once you're awakened. You will experience isolation. So you're going to be isolated. Yes, it's true. You may isolate yourself, or your enemies will try to isolate you. It's like, for example, you've been in this family matrix and you're the black sheep that has awakened. So eventually you're going to realize that all the family members are trying to go on one side and they're going to leave you on the other side, standing on your own, because they want you to feel bad about your own awakening. So you need to even apologize for you knowing too much or seeing too much, or even awakening for this matter. So yes, they're going to isolate you. And it is also not a very good experience, because isolation, we all know, we have gone through it. Although we have also understood that we have become better through these periods, because that is when you are able to listen to yourself. You can even listen to any small thing or anything that is even happening in your kitchen. You're sitting down in silence. The voices are coming in. You can hear everything. You can hear the voices from the Most High. Yes, isolation is hard. It's hard. It's hard. I think one of my first videos I did in that time, I think it was about 6 months into my journey, I talked about that moment, isolation. So I was going through it. At the time, I didn't understand what it was. But as the time went on, I knew that, okay, so this was part of the process as well. So, yes, spiritual warfare will happen. You'll be isolated. You will be isolated in every way, shape, or form. Spiritual warfare that you might experience post-awakening. You will have some form of financial crisis. Remember that when you awake, you unplug from everything. You may notice that you've been mistreated at your job place. Sometimes you may start asking a lot of questions, and it may get your bosses very uncomfortable. They don't want you to ask anything because you're asking too much. So they may decide to get you out of the work. You may be fired from work. Some of you may even just walk away. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've got a plan in place, but you feel like your soul cannot thrive in that environment. So you may just simply decide to walk away. If you've been with a narcissistic individual, yes, they have already drained your finances at this point. So you may sometimes leave. I've told you guys my story. When I was living with the narcissist, I had some few pennies in my wallet. That's all I had. I was believing and I was walking away because I believed that, things are going to work out some way. It's not that I had a plan. I was just moving with faith. I knew that at some point things would be taking off. And what is meant for me would always find me. And that is exactly what happened. So you might sometimes struggle with I've told you, financial crisis. You might run into debt. You may not have the resources you need to push further. It's going to be a very challenging moment. But as an alchemist, you're supposed to use that situation to create. The universe is sometimes pushing you in a corner so that you can start to create something for yourself on the side that is going to move you to the next level. So at the time, I remember that is when I started, doing different things, finding a way that I can create content and stuff like that. Of course, it took a very long time to pick up, but eventually started picking up, So when you find yourself in a crisis, financial crisis, yes, the enemy will surely attack your finances. A lot of the people that have gone through spiritual awakening, they have struggled with debt. they have struggled with the financial problems and stuff like that. Sometimes you might leave situations and you haven't yet paid off your mortgages. Sometimes you have car finances and stuff like that. And usually it's going to happen. But I can assure you, you have got to push through that stage. Don't give in to the fear. You have to push through that stage, because I can promise you at some point in time, the universe will open the necessary doors for you to get abundant, okay? The universe is abundant. So don't try to think that because you're struggling a little bit with debt and stuff like that, you don't have a job or something like that, you may be homeless. I know particularly an individual that I've always talked about in my videos. There's a guy, I remember when I was starting my journey, there's a guy I used to watch. He used to be in his car. He was homeless. So he used to sleep in his car. And, at that time he was creating videos. He was always in his car. But as we're talking, he's gotten more comfortable. He has his own place now. He has got his own channel. He's doing well. So you'll be pushed to look outside of the box and create something that will be sustainable. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time and work, persistence, consistency, and energy. Spiritual warfare also happens post-awakening in form of witchcraft. Now, remember, the enemy never wanted you to wake up. So the enemy can try to get to you physically. I've mentioned two guys when I was targeted by a group of covens, law enforcement people that were involved in that whole team, psychopaths, flying monkeys. They can try to get to you physically, okay? They can try to take you out, to do harm, cause you harm, humiliate you, and something along those lines. Now, if they can't get you physically, because one of the things I also experienced after that, it is also witchcraft, like spiritual attacks, okay? They will attack your mind, okay? They can attack you in your sleep. They may decide to astral project you to your house. They will pollute your dreams. So there is things that they will do, anything they can do to stop you, because you're becoming too powerful, is what is going on in their mind. You're becoming too powerful and unmanageable. So when they fail physically, they try to do it spiritually. And that's when the witchcraft will come in. So you may now start to see them going through different practitioners, trying to do stuff against you. Now, all those things don't work. Yes, sometimes it could be delaying, it could delay you a little bit and set you back a little bit, but you always pull through and things get better, okay? You work through it. So in most of my sessions, okay, we talk about those things. Warfare, spiritual attacks, and stuff like that is the things that we deal with. So, yes, the warfare will happen in form of witchcraft. There will be people that will try to go against you spiritually. If you've been around parents that are into the dark arts and stuff like that, the witches, covens, some of the narcissistic people, they can try to harm you spiritually. Eventually, all those things backfire. They tend to backfire, okay? Because you're protected. Yes, I've told you they could delay you. But eventually, those things tend to backfire and they return to wherever they came from. Spiritual warfare post-awakening also happens in form of gangstalking, okay? The enemy wants to have an update. What is going on with you? Okay, what is happening? So this and this, who are you dating? Where are you working? Where do you live? And stuff like that. And the system, like I've told you, some people call it the matrix. They are going to start sending all these gang stalkers, those NPCs everywhere. You just happen to be in a place, nothing is happening, very quiet. You walk in, you're seeing all these gang stalkers just show up out of the blue. Some of them will wait for you in the parking yard. Some of them are paid. Some of them are just NPCs. And that is a completely different subject altogether, because gang stalking goes very deep. But you best believe that as an awakened individual, the next thing you're going to experience, yes, there's going to be a lot of gang stalking, okay? Those spam emails will start coming in. People will be watching you. People will be tailing you and the stuff like that. Even sometime online, they're going to start sending you, the system, the matrix will send you these very bogus videos that are going to put you back into that frequency. because the enemy survives better in your old frequency. Your new frequency is not familiar, it's very powerful. So the enemy wants to do anything they can do to put you back in that old frequency of fear and anxiety and all that stuff, things like that. So the gangstalking is also going to be one of the things, the warfare that will happen to individuals that are awakened, especially the chosen ones, okay? There could be other things that I may not have mentioned in this video. If there is something you haven't heard in the list, let us know in the comment section below. You guys know I do love and appreciate your support. Please book a session if you want to. You may donate or support my channel if you want to. Everything you need, you will find it in the description below. And until then, I will see you guys in my next one. Denzomos signing out. Much love and blessings. Peace.